I have always dreamed of having a little witch cottage of my very own. A little shack in the woods, a little cottage tucked away in a garden overflowing with roses and things that climb on arbors, or maybe overlooking the sea. At the end of February, my own little cottage. Okay, so it's a children's playhouse, but I have a really good imagination. Was delivered to my backyard in Louisville. I'd like to show you around. B. And as a bonus, I'm going to share with you a little DIY project that I'm starting right now, but that I will be able to show you the finished update for in about 3 weeks. So let's go inside. Black here from Blade and Broom. This is basically like your witchy aunt's secret garden cottage, where we chat about witchcraft, especially traditional witchcraft. If you're new here, go ahead and click the subscribe button and ding the bell to get notifications. And if you are returning, welcome back. Thank you so much. We have a Patreon for this channel. And the link for that, as well as my link tree, which will tell you all about my witchy doings and projects, which are many, is all in the notification, or that would be the description box below, as well as any other resources that are mentioned in today's video. With that, let's go ahead and put something in a teacup and start this tour. I've got mine. The cottage is located in a corner of my yard that is not very Instagram ready. I guess we could say it's the before picture on a Pinterest project. My husband and I got started on a fence and put in a little swing and the start of a fire pit the summer before last. And then nothing happened last year because 2020. Hey, actually something happened. I started this channel. And I started my first ever vegetable and herb garden in another part of the yard. So I consider both of those huge wins. But then a tree fell in what we discovered was more of a water pit than a fire pit, which is kind of in the same area where my cottage is. And we just sort of stopped with the renovations back here until the witch cottage was envisioned. We have beautiful, very cottagecore plans for this area back here. Lattice walls, trellis and planter box entrances, stone paths. We're going to raise the area with decorative stone to get it out of the swamp. I'm more of a forest witch, or maybe a seaside witch, than a swamp witch. Not that I have a problem with being a swamp witch, it's just not my thing. I'll have container roses, more herbs, and some other flowers. And Aphrodite will likely be out here when she's not at Midian. We'll see how she feels about that, but she does love a garden. Oh, and we have one of those metal fire pit container thingies to put out here. So this will be a private ritual garden once all is complete. Bye, neighbors. Moving inside. This main shrine area is really familiar to regular viewers of the channel. I've done a lot of videos in front of this space. So it's basically a bookcase that was made by a friend about 2 decades ago, and I inherited it about a decade ago. And it is topped with a 1970s bookcase headboard from a twin bed. They are both painted in the same white paint, and I just love the amount of storage and display that I have with this construction. This shrine is where most of my spirit vessels and my own fetch vessel reside. It's also where I store most of my working tools, which you can see in different shots. They're either on or near this space. A couple of pieces I'd love to point out. My Vulva Stave, which I've described before as the grandmother of the witch's stang. There's a link to that video in the cards and below. This spirit vessel for one of my allies made from a cane toad, which is an invasive and overpopulated species in the area where the seller lives, who I bought it from, so it's a win-win for crafting. This pentacle trivet that I picked up at a flea market when I lived in Indiana. And finally, this frame, which always has a rotation of spectacular witchy art from my friend and frequent collaborator, John Burkle, aka Jonathan Blackthorn. There's a link to his work always down in the description box below. You should definitely check him out. Over here is my working blade and broom. In some of my past videos, you will have seen these crossed behind me, and they are part of the symbols for my shop, actually. So I'll be honest, this is not a great quality blade, but I love the length of a claymore to match the length of a broom. Plus, I just love a claymore. I actually had a spectacular claymore once upon a time, but in a spasm of high priestess disease, it was taken from me. We'll probably talk about the dangers of high priestess disease at some point, and I'll look to getting a better sword later. For now, this one has loads of history and sentimentality. And the broom is nothing short of awesome. Ash handle, birch twigs, willow bindings. It is your quintessential witch's besom. And it was made by Broom Squire, which is not an affiliate, just an amazing broom maker. 10 out of 10, highly recommend. This area is my actual working altar. This is where I do certain types of workings that require a surface. It's also where I keep my book of art, my lamps, all of which have some history to them, and my coven mates' fetishes. There's storage underneath for supplies and workings in progress, or workings that have progressed. So I store the talismans and boxes and things that have already been done here. This is my beautiful Buka. He's been with me for several years, and he was found for me by one of my best friends, who is herself a goat lady. She knew and trusted the man who was selling the skull, so I know that this old goat lived a happy, horny life and died of natural causes. And over here is my Aphrodite Shrine. She's here inside in this special corner of the cottage, surrounded by all the water, because I'm like that. There's water from the Fountain of Youth in St. Augustine, blessed water made by a witchy friend of mine from Camp Midian, Aphrodite ocean water I collected while swimming naked at midnight under a Libra full moon, snow, now melted of course, collected under a full snow moon, and there's other waters too in the other bottles. There are offerings here that were made to Aphrodite that have been entrusted to my care. Bowls and cups to be joined by more bowls and cups eventually, because I kind of collect them and they all have their own special purpose. She keeps my wings, which I wear for certain workings, and she wears a lot of my sacred jewelry. Some of those jewels are hers, but some are shared now, it seems. It's like that sometimes. In the central space in the middle of the cottage is where I perform full-on ritual. This is my fully private indoor working space. It doesn't look all decked out because I don't honestly keep or need a lot of things in the space where I work most of the time. In the next couple of weeks, I'm actually going to be showing you some different ways to lay the compass, and you'll probably understand why I don't need lots of elemental altars and other things right here where I communicate with spirits. I mentioned at the beginning of the video that I'd show you a DIY project for this space. It actually involves the compass. I will be using this black and white round tablecloth and these embellishments along with a couple of other pieces of cloth and fabric that I've collected over the years for projects, and my years of sewing and embroidery experience to make a portable witch's compass, complete with symbols sacred to my tradition. I'm really excited to be able to show you what this looks like when it's all finished in about 3 weeks. So that's all I really have to say about that today in terms of what's going on here at the cottage right now. I hope that you found what I showed you informative or at least inspirational. I would love to hear about what you've got going on in your sacred space, or what plans or ideas you have imagined for your future sacred space. I have been planning a space like this for probably 25 years. So it has taken a little while to manifest it, and I have just lots of ideas about what it will eventually become, it and the space around it. So I'd love to hear your questions, and I'd love to hear your thoughts and ideas. If you found today's information useful, please bless me with the magic of the like button and tell your friends that we've got good stuff going on over here if they're into that witchy goodness. Also, if you would like to learn more about traditional witchcraft, check out the free ritual guide that I have linked in the description box below called 3 Rites That Every Traditional Witch Should Know. Or you can just jump straight to the link for the Red Thread Academy, which is the witch school that I run for my witchcraft tradition. All right, friends, I will see you back here next Monday at noon with more witchy goodness. Bye.